So, here I am. I'm at kind of hard to see in all the dark, but I'm actually in the back of an elementary school. No, not for the reasons you think. I'm just here to sort of, I don't know, I'm just scoping out the place. I'm bored. And, well, whatever. I guess I'm in a sort of nostalgic mood. No, I never went to this school when I was little, but I actually went to Miko Elementary. I guess today I'd just like to talk about, I'd like to talk about my days in kindergarten and elementary school. Just for the hell of it. Let's sit down over here. This looks nice. Alright, where to start? A really long time ago, I think my very first day of kindergarten went something like this. Me and Dad are walking together to class because I guess I was either new or I was probably late. And, well... when I realized I was going to start the whole thing without Dad, I was, well, to say the least, I was a little distraught. Eventually Dad just dumped me there, and, well, I was curled up in a ball, like, for the first 2 hours or so. I can't remember what happened then, but I think at one point, let's see. My second memory being there, we were all gathered on this mat of some kind to listen to the teacher for whatever reason. And, my leg is doing this, so mind the rocking, if any. Anyways, the teacher was rambling about some crap, and, well, I, for some reason, decided to make myself sound like I was snoring. I just, on a whim, I just decided to sound like I was snoring. I wasn't even tired that day, if I remember correctly. It just felt appropriate. Immediately, the teacher picked me up by the nape of my neck. Obvious exaggeration. She picked me up like I was a fucking cat and just slammed me onto a random table far away from the rest of the class. And, I don't know, I guess she was really pissed. Okay, moving on. Let's see, third memory. None of these are in order, mind you, anyways, third memory. I think I was coming into class one morning, and, everybody else was playing or something. Meanwhile, the teacher forced me to sit down and fill something out. I have no idea what it was. It was probably a worksheet, but I think I had to write some crap down. But, for some reason, my brain went right back to All Dogs Go to Heaven. And I was imagining that scene where Charlie is having a nightmare, and he thinks he's going to hell. And he's getting sucked into this tornado leading to the underworld. And for some reason, that made me want to scribble round and round and round all over the paper. And like it was the cyclone of a tornado. Wait, no, I don't think that's right. Like, I don't know. I tried making it look like you were looking down the center of a tornado. I guess that was my very first Picasso. I can't remember what happened after that, but I doubt the teachers were very enthralled by my reenactment of a tornado. Speaking of playtime, there was this one time where I thought we were allowed to play and shit. So, the second the teacher was done talking, I screamed out, "Yeah!" And then, all the toys were kept in these drawers of some kind. So I immediately went over to the play area and started aggressively yanking all of these drawers out so I could get all the stuff in there. And then the teacher starts yelling at me. I can't remember what for. I guess that wasn't really my cue to start going apeshit, so... yeah, so do with that what you will. Let's see now. Oh yeah, there was also Halloween. Halloween was interesting, to say the least. I was gonna go as a dragon at first, but, well, actually, I think I wanted to go as a dinosaur, but my dad could only find this dragon costume. Luckily, the wings were, like, stuck on with Velcro, so he just tore those off. Sorry, just thinking about Velcro makes me die inside. I hate the sound it makes, man. Anyways, moving on. Can't quite remember what happened that Halloween night, but, I don't know. I got to wear my costume to school, so that was nice. I think my cousin had this inflatable Triceratops costume at the time. That was interesting. Speaking of scary stuff, when I was around kindergarten age, let's say like 4 or 5, maybe 6, maybe less than 6, I had this nightmare. You guys know the Bandersnatch from the live-action Alice in Wonderland movie? Well, I sort of had a nightmare about that. To my memory, the nightmare went like this. I guess I'm making my way through the forest when all of a sudden these gnomes start appearing out of nowhere, or maybe they're dwarves, whatever. One of them starts laughing his ass off. And while he's laughing, all the other gnomes are rolling their eyes and sneering at him, when all of a sudden, he laughs so hard that he involuntarily makes this weird roaring noise, and he covers up his mouth, in shock. Everybody looks at him, like, they're all, like, what the hell was that? And then, all of a sudden, he starts, like, screaming and groaning so loudly, that all of a sudden, the fucking Bandersnatch itself just leaps out of his throat and starts killing everybody. And then I guess it starts chasing me out of nowhere. And I wake up absolutely terrified. That, my friends, was possibly my very first nightmare. And it's all Tim Burton's fault. I remember having a sort of sequel to the dream as well. Well, basically, it's just me in class. And, I'm just sitting at a table. And all of a sudden, one of my teacher's aides starts laughing. And then she starts coughing and groaning. And then all of a sudden, the Bandersnatch comes out of her mouth again, too. And then he kills me. And that's where my memory ends. I think that was my very last dream involving the Bandersnatch. Let's see now. Any exciting things in kindergarten? Oh yeah, I forgot about I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a playground right there. See, the playground at my school was it was a little bit like this, but it was a little smaller. And well, actually, at the time we did this sort of assignment where we would try to raise caterpillars into butterflies. And when they were all, when they all came out of their cocoons, we would take these big accordion net things outside and let the butterflies free. And yeah, it was nice. It was really nice to see the butterflies fly away. Unfortunately, I really, really had to go to the bathroom. And, yeah, I had a lot of logs saved up. But I was way too shy to ask the teacher to go back inside for a bathroom break because, well, we were already outside. And, well, inside didn't exist as long as we were outside, so I figured I was just stuck out there. So immediately after the whole butterfly thing, I was hoping we would go back inside, but nope, now we get to play in the playground. Which would have been great in any other circumstance, but I was groundhogging hard. Wait, no, I think it's prairie dogging, but the point is, I really needed to take a crap. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as privacy on a public playground. So, I climb up these stairs to this, slide thing. I don't know what the hell you call it. And I'm desperately looking for a place to take a dump in peace. But again, there's literally no privacy there. So, eventually I give up, and I immediately just do my business next to this thing with gears on it. And these two girls run up to me, and they're absolutely disgusted. I can't remember what happened after that, but I doubt that I was unpunished. I could have gone anywhere else, but I decided to do it on the playground. And yeah, I doubt that the teacher was happy about that. I doubt it. I must have gotten in trouble somehow. Okay, moving on. I think at that time, that might have been like pre-K or something, because I eventually moved on to some other form of K. And I had this other teacher. Can't remember her name, but she was tall, blonde, and skinny. Unlike the last one, who was fat, had white hair, and glasses. Um, I can't remember much of this time, but I remember a few weird assignments we had to do. There was this one where we had to pretend to be penguins, and we would pick our own partners, you know? And, I can't remember how I did, but I remember getting, like, way too attached to the egg I was assigned. And then there was the donut thing. Basically, the teacher tied these donuts to the ceiling, and we would have to try and eat them hands-free. I can't remember if that was really an assignment for anything. I think she just wanted to see us eat donuts. Fucking creep. And let's see. I think I also had a friend at the time, but I can't remember if I met her in pre-K or regular K. Her name was Emily, and everybody kept poking fun at me and her, and assuming that we were, like, boyfriend and girlfriend or something, but, nah. Yeah, far from it, nah. We didn't hate each other or nothing. I mean, we were cool with each other, but nah, nothing like that. I wonder what she's doing these days. It's probably about as old as me, I don't know. But whatever. I also remember stealing a lot in kindergarten. I'm not gonna lie, I actually stole a lot in kindergarten. I would especially try stealing all the toys that were there, because, well, you know, I was a little thief. I vaguely remember stealing a few specific ones, like, there were these two yellow lizard things that looked like horned lizards, or bearded dragons, whatever you call them. There was this weird Olm thing. Ever heard of an Olm? It was like a blue salamander thing with a little pink gills. That was fun. I also stole these little frog things, except they were kind of like accessories to a frog life cycle. You know, I got the polywog, the tadpole, the frog itself, etc. Yeah, I stole a lot in kindergarten. There was also this really deformed green plesiosaur thing that looked like it was chewed on by a dog. Like, its face and flippers were all fucked up, like, beyond repair. I still took it anyway, though, because I really liked plesiosaurs. Yeah, see, it's just knee bouncing things, not when you think, perverts. Moving on. Anything else interesting? I remember making up this one story. This one is not real at all. But when I was in high school, I made up the story that I put slugs in one of my teacher's like coffee cups, and I don't know why I made that up. It's a weird story, but I wish it was true though. I wish that was true. Like, I wish I was that mischievous in kindergarten, but nah. At the very least, I was an impulsive little shit. I mean, what kid wasn't, right? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. This one time, me and my dad actually caught, like, this chipmunk. And for some reason, I decided to bring it into class the next day. And I can't remember if I let it out or if it got out on accident, but yeah, that chipmunk went totally apeshit later on. Yeah. Yeah, my dad wasn't happy about letting the chipmunk out. He was pretty pissed. Um, what else? I remember developing this weird thing where, I wouldn't say it's a thing, more like, you know how in movies they sometimes flash by the characters' faces and show the actor's name and the character's name? Like, I don't know, like, Ethan Klein, played by Ethan Briggs. I just realized Ethan Klein is like he's a streaming guy, right? Yeah, whatever. And, anyways, what I would do is, I would run past random kids in the playground while epic movie trailer music would play in my head. And I would pretend like they were protagonists in a movie. There was also this sort of game I had where, you see, the school I went to, I think it had 2 playgrounds on it. one with sand and one with pebbles, and they had two setups on each one. It was cool. So I pretended that the kids on one of the playgrounds was like infected or something. Meanwhile, the ones on the other one were not infected, like they were all zombies or something. So I would keep telling kids to go to the other side of the playgrounds so that they wouldn't get infected, but none of them would really. The game never really caught on, sadly. Let's see, anything else? Can you hear that? I don't know if you hear that, but kind of. Huh. Well, anyways, let's move on to first grade, shall we? Um, Park Terrace. Jesus, what is there to say about Park Terrace? I think my first year at Park Terrace was, to say the least, I wasn't a fan. I had this bitch of a teacher. I can't remember her name anyways. I think it was Wallace or something, like Ms. Wallace. She was a bitch. Like, literally any amount of imagination I had, anytime I thought about just being just a tiny bit kid-like, she fucking stomped it into the dust, quite literally. This one time, I pretended there was a Coelophysis running around in the room. You know, like a little Compsognathus, whatever you want to call it. You know, one of the little saltopus things from Jurassic Park. I pretended one of those was running around to the room, and she immediately just pretends to stomp on it. She just pretends to stomp it to death. Like, what the fuck was that all about? She could have, like, pretended to catch it and throw it out the window or something. Because, you know, we were on the first floor, so it could just go outside or something. But, no, she pretended to stomp it to death. What the fuck? Yeah, so, Park Terrace wasn't all that great. Not to mention, I had this habit of laughing in the middle of classes, and the teacher hated it. I mean, I understand, because you don't want kids laughing in the middle of your lessons, but could have shown a little patience. I mean, Jesus. I mean, what the hell is wrong with a kid laughing? It's not like I was laughing at her. I just thought of some funny shit I saw on the internet at the time. So, again, she never, like, you know, she never belted me or nothing. Nothing like that. She was just mean. That's all. I mean, even if she did, she wouldn't have lasted a fucking day in that school, that's for sure. But this one time, we kind of got in a fight. I'm not sure if fists were swung or nothing, but we were kind of roughhousing a bit. And I shit you not, in the middle of the fight, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I guess I sort of tried to tear her shirt off. In the midst of it, I accidentally looked down her shirt and saw her bra. I wish I was lying. But yeah, 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 we became enemies after that. She hated me. I can't remember if I graduated that year or nothing, but eventually I got shoved into second grade, so I guess I did pass. I was sent somewhere to McNabb Elementary. It was all right. I mean, I hated it, but I guess it was all right. I can't remember anything that positive about it, other than let's see. I guess I had like a counselor at the time, and because I hated going there so much, I think this was. Let's see. I think at one point she noticed I really hated being there, so you know they gave me a little arrangement. Every Friday, I would only have to be at school for about 2 hours, and once the 2 hours were up, Dad would come and pick me up, and I'd get to go home early. Simple as that. So yeah, it was a pretty solid deal. I liked that. Every Friday was freaking awesome. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough to keep my antsiness in order. You know what I mean? Long story short, I crashed out. I had a fit. Eventually, I made my way down to the main office, and the teachers were trying to tackle me and hold me down and keep me from throwing any more fits. And my main teacher, I can't remember her name, you see, she was kind of holding me in her lap, you know, like she was tackling me. And you see, I was in a position where her face was behind my head. So, tell you what I did. Um, in my rage, I was constantly rocking and writhing around, and then all of a sudden, I sort of managed to backwards headbutt her in the face. Like, I hit her with the back of my head in the face so hard that I actually might have broken her jaw. And because of this, she had to be fed through a tube of some kind. And yeah, I shit you not, I was even told this eventually. Can't remember by who, but you know. Surprisingly, I wasn't expelled then, but yeah, the school was pretty pissed with me. I even remember like meeting the principal a few times. I was never like a renegade or nothing, but yeah, I got into a lot of fits. I hated being there. In fact, I actually headed down to the principal's office so many times that I was basically at a first name basis with him. And no, I don't just mean he was calling me by my name. Like I would actually call him by his name. I think his name was Deep Ass Quail or something. I mean, that might as well be his name. Deep Ass Quail. Ass Quail. That actually sounds like a really cool insult. You freaking ass quail. Yeah. Anyways, because I was so terrible at McNabb, they eventually just told me to get homeschooled instead. And my dad wasn't a very experienced teacher, so he just plopped me down in front of a computer and forced me to use this. I can't remember the name of the site, but it was a learning site of some kind. I didn't like it. I mean, I guess it was better than talking to a teacher all day, but God, was it boring. It was one of those, I don't know, it was one of those interactive edutainment sites, you know what I mean? I can't remember what it was called, but I hated it. And after that, eventually they started giving me, like, homework and shit, which I really didn't like. Yeah. And, but anyways, enough about McNabb. Let's go over the Boulevard. Yeah, so eventually I didn't exactly cut the mustard on McNabb, so I had to repeat second grade over in Boulevard. And Jesus Christ, Boulevard was by far the worst year of my of all my years in school, like hands down. You want to know why? Well, on the very first day, I got a little curious and asked them, "Hey, what's that door over there?" And the teacher said, that's the support room, Evan." "What's the support room?" "Well, the support room is where you go when you're bad." So, you want to know what I did? I wanted to see the support room, so I got up and, wandered right over to see what was in there. But the teacher kept pulling me back to the rest of the group and said, No, Evan, you're not supposed to go in there." "But I want to see what's in there." "No, Evan, you can't go in there unless you're bad." And I guess eventually I started fucking around so much that the teacher said, "Okay, fine. You want to go in there? You go in there." So they threw me in there, and it wasn't at all what I was hoping for. It's a motorbike, I guess. Kind of scared me. Unless it's that. Some kind of plane or something. Looks really close, scarily close, actually. Might be a helicopter, actually. Yeah, because of how slow it's going. Look at that, stars are out. There, where was I? Yeah, so the support room wasn't at all what I was hoping for. It was basically a padded cell. I hated it. And, because of how rowdy I was every morning, I was forced to stay in there for hours on end every goddamn morning. Yeah, to say the least, I was not happy to be there. Eventually, I got my act together, and I guess I stopped fucking around in there. And, miraculously, I managed to pass Boulevard. I actually made a couple friends there, to be honest. Actually, just one. Kaiden. Kaiden was a cool guy. I liked him. At the time, he was this tall, skinny guy with buck teeth and curly hair. I liked him. He was a cool guy. I don't know what it was. He just gave me a good vibe. I liked him. So eventually, and miraculously, I pass Boulevard and I get thrown over to 3rd grade. And, well, after my experience in, Boulevard and McNabb, well, I was right back at Park Terrace. Luckily, it was a little better than the last few times because, well, I was basically stuck at Park Terrace for about 3 years, from 3rd to 5th grade. And I can't remember which year it happened in, but eventually I got to find out that they had their own support room. And it was a lot worse than the last ones. But I'll tell you what, though. There was this one time where I actually had this little spark of joy. You know, I was crying, I was all sad in this support room. And then one of the teacher's aides actually, I don't know, she pitied me. So she took the stool and, propped it up against the door so that it would stay open while I was moping and crying on the floor. And the whole time, she had this little book or phone out or whatever. She was looking at something. But then I got an idea. I got an awful idea. I got a wonderful, awful idea. Tell you what I did. You see, I was kind of behind the door, and she was on the front of the door leading outside. And she was sitting on the stool that was propped up against it. So, and my foot was in a perfect position to... Okay, no more beating around the bush. I kicked or pushed the door so hard with my foot that it actually caused her to fall flat on her face while she was on the chair. Oh my god. She was so fucking mad. She was so fucking mad. So, yeah, so that was like my one moment of joy. Genuine joy while I was in that support room. Because I guess at that moment, that was the one time I felt like I had real control, you know what I mean? Yeah, moving on. As for everything else that year, it was okay. But, also, you want to know the one good thing about 3rd through 5th grade at the time? The one really good thing about my class at the time was, well, actually 2, but I'll mention the second thing. Number 1 was I actually made a lot of friends. There was Conrad, Ethan, Damien, and, William, I think? Yeah, William. Yeah, they were all cool guys, I guess. I also met a couple other weirdos. There was Aiden and Justice. This is gonna sound kind of weird, but at the time, Aiden to me was a mystery. Mainly because, I think Aiden was a girl, but she talked and looked like a guy. I don't know, she could have been like a trans kid for all I know, but yeah, Aiden was a... sorry, I zoned out for a second. I thought I saw something. It's just the late night madness getting to me, I guess. I guess I ought to wrap this up. Anyways, I made a few friends in school. So I guess that was a plus for 3rd grade and 4th grade and 5th grade. We also had our own little bathroom in class, so that was cool. We even had a water fountain. It was a pretty shitty water fountain, though. You had to turn this thing. It was always way too low to the ground, so we had to kneel. Yeah, it sucked. But sometimes during bathroom breaks, I would just get to sit in there and be alone with my own thoughts. And I would get to stall in there for as long as I wanted. And admittedly, I can't remember how old I was. I think I was like 10. I don't want to go into detail. That's gross. That's too gross. Not exactly YouTube advertiser friendly. I keep getting spooked by the fucking motorcyclists. Goddamn. Okay. Anyways, I think at the end of year 5, that's when we had this big party of some kind. It was nice. And after that, my dad took me to work with him, and I got to pop this bubble in the ceiling. With the lollipop I got. So that was fun. But overall, I'd say my elementary years were kind of lackluster. They could have gone better. I guess most of it was my fault, but I mean, come on, man. Who the fuck locks a kid in a room like that? You'd think a support room would be exactly what it sounds like, like a little room with a, with a teacher's aide in there to talk to or something. Like a counselor or something. Maybe a beanbag chair. Maybe like some stress toys to gnaw on, something like that. But no, it's just a padded cell. But moving on. Yeah, middle school was okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hated it, and they also had their own support room, but luckily I never found myself in there, not once. I don't think I ever really got in trouble there, to be honest. Though I was a bit of a little shit there. Like, I was always bitching and moaning. This was basically my rebellious teen phase, you see. Yeah, I was a bit of a mopey, dopey asshole. Yeah. This was also the part of my life where I started drawing the most. Like, I was drawing a lot at this time, especially during class. This is before I started learning to draw with a pencil, though. So, a lot of my drawings came out messy, inky, and crappy. But, there actually were a couple positive notes to this, to middle school. For one, I also made a lot of friends there, too. I even got to meet Ethan again. And Kaiden, too. Actually, I think Kaiden was there. And, the cafeteria was alright. I really liked the food. But they stopped serving egg salad sandwiches after, like, a day, which was a huge bummer. I also got to hang out with this, there was this one particular table with really nice chairs that I would always go to. And I met these 4 or 5 guys, I guess. I can't remember any of their names, but we called ourselves the Flaming Dodos. I liked to believe that they were like my only friends at the school at the time, for some reason. I just really liked being around them for some reason. Sadly, I never got their contact information or anything, because I'm not sure if I had a phone at the time, so it's not like I could. But eventually the school came up with, well, actually, I think it was just my class that did this. You see, every Thanksgiving, we would do this, feast in the class. We would all get our own food and beverages and shit and set them all up in the one classroom. You see, we actually had 2 classrooms that were, like, right next to each other, We would get one teacher per class. And one of them would teach science and math. The other one would teach social studies and English and other shit like that. Yeah, both of them kind of sucked. But anyways, in the social studies and English room, that's where we would set up the feast the most. Because it was a way bigger room. And, well, yeah, it was actually kind of nice. When the feast was actually done being prepared, we could bring a +1, like a guardian or something. And it was actually really nice. I liked that. I also made a few friends over there, too. Let's see if I can remember their names. There was Gage, there was Ethan, there was Catherine, there was a few other guys. I think their names were, Jeremiah and Tristan. But there was a few other classmates I really didn't like. There was Jeffrey, Justin, And a few other people I probably just would rather not remember. Oh, God, I just remembered one now. Julian. I really didn't like Julian. Now, note that Julian wasn't like a bully or anything. No. Far from it. He was just annoying. He was a fat, giggly, annoying bastard who never left me alone. He always pretended like he was my best friend for some reason, and I hated it. He was a dickhole. I hated him. He was extremely obsessed with all kinds of dumb shit. Pokemon, Fortnite, memes, all that crap. I didn't like him. I hated being around him. And I said good riddance when he was eventually transferred to some other school. I hated him. Jeffrey was annoying, but he at least stuck to his own business. Jeffrey was basically just a smarmy little chihuahua from Brooklyn. Julian was a fat-ass gopher who didn't mind his own fucking business. I'm not sure why I used gopher as an example, but you get the point. I guess another good thing about middle school was that, we did this thing every Friday, where, we would just get to hang out and we basically just got to do whatever the hell we wanted on Friday after lunch, you know? It was like a free day after that. We would get to use our tech. We would also get to use various board games and shit. And, one of the teachers even had this TV set of some kind that had Guitar Hero and other games on it, so that was cool. I never played any of them, but I don't know, everybody else seemed to like it, so whatever. There were also these huge beanbags at one point, but somebody poured milk on them, and the teacher threw them out, and since nobody fessed up to who did it, that was me. Well, okay. So to make a long story short, after lunch, I was using one of the beanbags to sit behind the door to the room, so that nobody could see whatever I was watching. But then one day I accidentally spilled milk on the beanbag I was using, and I didn't tell anybody. And because I didn't fess up, the teacher decided to throw away all the beanbags. Sorry, guys. But, other than that, it was alright. But, and then came high school. High school was interesting, I guess. Wasn't perfect, but I didn't mind it that much. I did get in trouble, I think once or twice. A couple things got me grounded at the time, but whatever. I think one of the main things I noticed about high school was that everybody there was a lot nicer than the people who were at middle school and elementary school. It felt really uncanny to me. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention. In between middle school and high school, that was when we had quarantine. The COVID thing. So we had to stay home during most of the school months, and we were forced to do the stupid Google Classroom thing. And my dad would always pester me about not doing certain work, even though work assignments would never appear in Google Classroom, so I never had to do shit. But whatever. This is a boring era. But high school was different. I think at this time I was drawing a lot better. I was writing a lot more stuff at this time. And, since this was post-COVID, there weren't that many kids in any of our classes. It was usually just me and some other guy. But for the most part, yeah, the classrooms were basically empty. We also had to walk around with those stupid masks for a while, so that was a bit of a pain. I think. But, my first year there was boring. All the COVID shit pissed me off, but whatever. I soldiered through it. Second year there it was okay. It was boring, but it was okay. Third year, boring and miserable. But I got through it. I was drawing a lot more. I carried around this huge portfolio. I would use, I would use my phone all the time in, like, study hall, because since I hardly ever had any leftover work to do, study hall was basically my safe haven. I could do whatever the hell I wanted at the time. But then came my fourth and final year of high school. The fourth year was supposed to be my salvation. It was supposed to be when seniors got to do... I was told beforehand that seniors got to do whatever the hell they wanted in high school. That they were basically the top dogs. But I still felt the same as I did back in my first year. I still felt like some miserable freshman. And you want to know the worst part? I mean, this is like a really dumb thing to complain about, but you see, when we started our fourth year, we had to do this assembly where the teachers were, noticing that a lot of our grades were a little lower than expected from the third year, and they suspected it had to do with us using our tech and whatnot. So they basically they were going to be a lot more strict with technology and shit, unless it was technology from the school, whether it was an iPad or one of those shitty Chromebooks they had. And the seniors could only use their tech in certain periods if they had this if they had this stupid pass. And we had to earn a very specific pass after every quarter. So we couldn't just use the same one from each one. And getting one of these passes was not easy. We had to be at our absolute best to fucking get them. So I guess I earned mine technically. But yeah, I was so fucking mad about this, because the thing is, I never slacked off in the previous 3 years. Not once. I always turned in my shit on time. I never had any leftover work for study hall. I was a pretty damn good student, I would say. But apparently all that was flushed down the fucking toilet. Apparently, I was meshed together with all the other students, so I needed a fucking pass for that. And I was just gonna get treated like some 5-year-old kid who can't be trusted with a tablet for 5 seconds. Luckily, I had a little trick up my sleeve. You see, we couldn't even use our stuff during study hall. Even if we had no work to do, we still couldn't use our tech. So, what did I do? I pulled out my headphones, the ones I'm wearing right now. And, I would tell my teachers that they were off, and that I was just putting them on so that I could have some peace and quiet. What they didn't know was that because they're Bluetooth headphones, I was constantly listening to music through them while I was piecing about. So, and guess what? I was allowed to draw too. So, I could listen to music and draw while I waited for the period to be over. And nobody was ever the wiser. And I got to do this until I got my pass. Then I could use my tech as I please. And I didn't have to use those shitty school Chromebooks. At least I tried to use them as little as possible. So yeah, I kept up the scheme for goodness knows how long. I still carried around this big ass portfolio, and I would constantly try drawing, sketching, coloring, etc. It was also around this time when I started coloring things digitally with IBIS Paint, as you might have seen in some of my shorts here and there. Then eventually, Judgment Day came. Graduation day. And, you see, I was planning to sit out the graduation ceremony because I knew it was just going to be a waste of time. I also had a sort of principle in mind. I had absolutely no respect for school at this point. I wanted nothing to do with the graduation ceremony. So, I planned on just staying home and sitting it out and waiting for my actual for my actual diploma to come in the mail. Unfortunately, well, I was guilt-tripped by my grandma, who really, really, really wanted to see me at the graduation ceremony. And, well, I would have bluntly, yet gently, I would have told her I wasn't going to do that. But, well, Dad then started guilt-tripping me and saying, well, she's not going to be around forever. You might as well do this one solid for her. She's done a lot for you. And I said, God fucking damn it, why are you so right? You're so right, and I hate that. So, fuck it, I did it. I got the stupid gown on. I went to the graduation ceremony, and I hated it. I sat through what felt like almost 2 hours of doing nothing but standing and then eventually sitting. And then when it was finally my turn to get my diploma, well, they handed me this little black booklet of some kind, so I figured the diploma was in there. So I grabbed it, and I immediately bid them adieu and walked all the way back to the IES car. Yeah, he's my grandma, by the way. And when I finally opened up that stupid booklet, nothing was inside. There was no diploma. Nothing was in there. What I had forgotten was, one of the staff informed me that, oh, well, you don't actually get the diploma here. We just mail it to you later on. So, I really did just go to that graduation ceremony for nothing. And you want to know the funny thing? Everybody had the option of going to the graduation ceremony. It was never, ever an obligatory thing. We could choose to just stay home and wait for our diplomas to come in the mail. But no. No, because I was guilt-tripped by my dad and grandma, I just had to go. And it was all for fucking nothing. They could have at least made it a benefit where, okay, listen, you can sit at the graduation ceremony if you want, but if you do come to the graduation ceremony, we'll give you your diploma early so that you don't have to wait weeks and weeks for it to show up in your mail. But no, it really doesn't matter if you show up to the graduation ceremony or not. Oh, don't worry, you'll just get it in the mail in a couple weeks. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you what, though, at the very least, it made my grandma happy. She was happy about it, so, there. And after that, never did I ever set foot on school grounds ever again until now. This isn't my school. I'd never been to the school, but would have been pretty poetic if this happened to be Miko, huh? Okay, well, that's enough of me prattling about my childhood and school years. I think I'm gonna go home. I'm actually getting scared out here. Happy late Easter, I guess.